Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your podcast show, Fanatics Call In, where guys get to call in and have a chat with me. You guys get to chat with me. We get to sit back, relax, and just have a lot of fun, talk about various topics in cricket. And just generally, I like to just catch up with my podcast co-hosts, etc., and my panelists about their weekends and what they're getting up to, what series are they into, what new music have they listened to, different types of things that we get into on this particular show. It's not only strictly cricket, but tonight is going to be very, very cricket orientated because the topic that we're going to be speaking about today is all about the world of cricket, how cricket has changed over the years. Has it gotten better? Is it more exciting? Is it stronger? Are we seeing better players coming out of the current system compared to before? Are the teams as competitive as they were before, etc., etc.? We'll also talk about the different types of formats and whether it's improving the game, whether it's not improving the game. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be getting a lot of panelists calling into the show today and having a conversation with me. But before we get going, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, click that notification bell for all future videos. Also, get into that likes, smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe, do all of those things. Let's get this video trending, obviously, and get some likes, guys. Smash that likes. I want to try to get to about 10 to 20 likes, more than 20 likes today on this particular stream. So share this to everybody out there that you know. Let them join this conversation. I think it's a nicely situated conversation because it's available to anybody all around the world. So anybody can get into this conversation. It's not just for South Africans. And I know a lot of our content is South African driven. But today we're going to be talking about a topic that is quite, how can I say, it's very topical for people from all around the world. So get involved in the comment section. I'm going to also put on the super chat right now because obviously while I'm talking to our whole panel, it's going to be difficult for me to obviously see all your comments. So get involved in the super chat so that you can get your comments highlighted. So I want to know from you guys, how are you guys doing? What did you think about the cricket today? Of course, we've had a particular team. Let's not talk about it. So let's bring on the... There's only one reason I said that, and that's because of my next guest on the show. And that is yeah. Welcome to the show, guys. Our first few panelists on the show. We're going to wait and see if anybody else does call in. But welcome to the show, Mpo, Aaron Cricket here, and Aditya, of course. So let's talk about the CSA T20 Challenge. So I think that the Dolphins.
There we go.
I think that the Dolphins, the Warriors, the Cobras, the Titans all played really well. You know, like I think there's really a lot to take out of the Well done to the Lions. Well done to the Lions. I think
adding the MODC, adding that momentum, even though we're going to win that one too. We had them in a bit of a pickle. But something needs to be spoken about how the Dolphins, when it comes to finals, they just don't know what's going on. It's a little shaky there.
A lot of shared finals, actually, if you think about it.
Yes, but the last time they played in a final properly and got through it, they also put up 100. It was the last. I actually watched that game live where Lungingiri tore them into shreds at Centurion. So, yeah, but look, hey, it was a great tournament, guys. Thank you for coming.
Like what I loved about the performance is the professionalism from the Lions with regards to the ball. They came in there, they did their job, and then yes, with the bat, I was very impressed with. Let's just talk about the tournament as a whole because yes, the Lions have won it. Of course, this is a second consecutive win. I thought when I looked at it before, I thought that if the Lions go through, I thought that the Lions would win this because I just thought that the Dolphins, like they went perfect throughout this tournament. But as the tournament went along, I felt that they kind of dipped. It started very well as a team performances with the bat particularly, and it started growing, and then it slightly dipped. I think a decision that they should have maybe made was to give Keegan Peterson an opportunity in this match because I think he's been most consistent batsman throughout the tournament. It's weird to drop him in the final. I know Ruan de Swart is a very talented player, and unfortunately didn't come to the party. I was disappointed about David Miller, that he didn't step up in this particular final, and I know he was coming off some good momentum as well. So it was a pity that he couldn't come to the party today. But Kagiso Rabada, Sasanda Magala, wow! I think Bjorn Fortuin. Obviously, he set the tone with the wicket in the first over, and then obviously when he's hitting the winning runs, I think he's shown unbelievable competitiveness. His competitive spirit throughout the tournament has been excellent. I think even in his fielding, his batting, when he needed to bowl, everything as a whole. Let's talk about though the tournament and some of the guys that really stand out. Let's talk. I have some of them here. We've got wait. We've got the depleted Shay on the channel.
Yes. Get in.
First and foremost, guys, I'm just going to put Shay up here. I'm going to allow Shay to kind of co-host this show with me today, because the reason is because he had a show planned today, and I actually messaged him to ask him if it's okay if we can do a combined show, because I really wanted him on this particular show because of the topics we're going to be talking about tonight. So I'm going to allow him to also. I don't know where Uncle Ravi is. That's the problem. I'm waiting for Uncle Ravi to come. But thank you, Shay, for giving us the opportunity to do this. So guys, go over to Uneven Bounce, give that subscribe, get that notification bell, likes, do all of those type of things for him as well. I'm gonna give Shay an opportunity also to ask some questions in between. You can just throw in those questions when you want to, Shay. You can just when you can see me obviously pausing a bit, getting a bit tired, you can take over. But let's just get your thought process on the Dolphins particularly. What were your thoughts on? I mean, unbeaten the entire tournament at home, 3 spinners in their ranks. How are you feeling about the particular defeat?
Well, for the first 3 quarters of this game, it's very much Mammoth's boys, unfortunately. And I knew that obviously the Lions are extremely strong side. We were coming to this game. I was aware of that. But I thought, first of all, our batting lineup and selection was pretty abysmal. Ruan de Swart struggled at 3 throughout this tournament. I thought that it was a very poor decision to install him at 3, especially after his Atlas performance against Titans on Friday. Most secondly, I don't want to go into it too much because I'll probably do like my own. I'll do a show on that separately. We're a bit more critical. But I would just say that I think that Mashekale at 6 was an extremely poor decision. The guy struck at 81 throughout the entire tournament. The reason why he played, because Ndila Pepequayo was injured. That's the only reason why he played, because that's a separate matter really for Dolphins, how they develop certain players in their squad throughout the franchise. But it's extremely fortunate to see him there at 6 again after he nudged and nurdled his way to a painstaking, I think 18 or 16 balls against Titans. But then to go and bat at 6, I mean, his setup is not there as a T20 player on these wickets. It's as simple as that. And he did exactly what I said. If you look at my Instagram post, I posted an hour before the game. I called this. I called exactly how this game would play out. The game would have been lost in our batting, not our bowling. We had no business really taking the game to the 20th over almost. We had no business doing that. It was just obviously we quit ourselves quite well. I thought Bartman bowled actually quite well. I thought he bowled a beauty to Van der Dusen to keep us in the game. But the reality was Lions by far the best side. I think you mentioned about 3 spinners, but the reality was the last 2 games, Khalid, we've only bowled. We dropped Muthusami. Didn't do anything too wrong actually, but he didn't play. And I think today he could have played at 6. I think he's the kind of guy who's far better suited at 6 to nudge another balls, quit singles. You know, it wasn't a tournament in general for power hitting. We saw the other glimpse, like George Linder, for example. Obviously, we saw that. With Swashbuckling 40-odd in that group game. But generally speaking, it wasn't a kind of tournament where you strike at 200, especially after your 3rd ball. It was to play your way in, which saw David Miller do so well. But when Miller got out, going to Miller in this game, it really kind of it really opened up the cracks and it showed how fragile the side was. I thought Kai Zonda did really well this tournament. He quit himself well, but Michelle, they put pressure on him by scoring so slowly, which means he had to go, and obviously he got caught. I think mid-off of I can't remember who got him out now. He got caught by 10. Rabada came back here. And Rabada obviously got Miller, and I think it was excellent tactics and time to do that. The gun batsman, the gun bowler. But I said that if Miller got out cheaply, you had to stand up to be counted, and no one did. Freilink again acquitted himself well at middle order. I would like to have seen him at 6. I said if you're going to have to play him at 6, which you had to anyway, to fulfill the three black African quota in the side, then you should have batted him at 8 or even 9. I genuinely want to be adverse to that and have Frolic at 6 and Mirage at 7, Sir Brian at 8. I would have been happy with that. Or give Andile Similane a go. Lubalolo's also on the channel was kind enough to show us a glimpse of him. I would have given him a try. Pepe Cuello, I think you all know, was an 18-year-old 7 years ago wearing this shirt in the final, along with Tahir and Kevin Peterson, quit himself very well in that final, which he won. So I think Similane is 17 years old. They could have given him a go, as well, and give Ralston the gloves. I think it was a really, really, really poor planning in that respect. To go in unchanged because we won the 5. I know we won the 5 games on the bounce, so I'm fully aware of that. But you're up against a behemoth, an absolute juggernaut in the Lions, who are full of big game players throughout the team. There's match winners from 1 to 11, and we didn't have that. We were greater than the sum of our parts in the first 5 games. We never had killers throughout the side. We had Miller playing well. Mirage is superb with a new nut, but once you got past the kind of, it's almost like watching Netflix. Once you get past what's in front of you, it's a bit weak. It's not ideal. And the Lions with that quality really exposed the frailties in the 11. And the drop-off as well. I mean, as I said I'll finish off here, Holly, but the drop-off, I think, was key in this final because the Lions kept coming and coming and coming. They were relentless. I don't think even Mulder bowled the ball in the side. And I know Pagita didn't, that's for sure. You see, they had those guys in the locker. But, it went with us. We're open the bowling with Sir Brian and a Mirage. And I said we go to Bartman and Mulgrew. But the drop is quite evident. Whereas, you got KG, and then you've got Bjorn Fontaine, who I thought was exceptional in this tournament. And then you've got Fangiso, while he operates now, was he 37 years old this year? He's been around the block 1,000 times. You had a really good bowling attack. It was just relentless. And full credit must go to Lions. They were just a different gravy today, and they fully deserved their victory. To be honest, as you know, I thought it would be done after maybe 14, 15 overs. I think it's obviously we can keep our heads high a little bit, but the reality was, irrespective of going to 20th over, we were vastly outplayed today by a much better side.
So, Mpo, what were you most proud about when it comes to the Lions, do you think, throughout this tournament?
I was happy about the fact that they didn't live up, because Timber spoke about on the sheet, the names are amazing, but they played with a certain level of maturity. They didn't get themselves carried away. I think the only time that things didn't work out well from a batting perspective was that game against the Dolphins, and to a certain extent you could say today, but from a bowling perspective it was yesterday, which bothered me a lot. And it was good to see that KG went back out there to try and sort out whatever issues he had, because he went no wickets for 36 runs in those 4. But I love that it was a Protea level, it was like an SAA level that the Lions came with to this tournament, and they kept it at that. And the thing about today that disappointed me with the Dolphins was I would have won the toss, and I would have bowled first to put the Lions in a hole. Because you saw what happened in that second innings. They just fell apart, and the Lions aren't great at sitting. They're like India. India love chasing. It's just the way it's been. And in this tournament, they felt very comfortable chasing, even if that one game against the Dolphins they did lose, because of the fact that you've got KG, you've got Lungi, KG, you've got Sisanda, you've got Bjorn, you've got Pangi, you've got an entire arsenal of guys who can literally stop your run setting effort, and that's what happened this time. And yesterday they got into a bit of a hole while they were in that first innings, and I was disappointed, but I was happy that they brought it together. And yes, they took a very long time to chase down scores, and they had lost over situations yesterday and whatever it was. But I was happy at the fact that Reza got into form. Ryan Rickleton needed to drop down the order, but we didn't have another wicketkeeper, so he had to keep on playing. He got like 20 odd yesterday, but it's not something he can't. It's like Yanaman, he's struggling to play spin and pick the ball, and it was just really bad. the middle order with Rassi, with Temba really stepped up, and I was happy that those Proteas stepped up. I was happy that Vian Mulder stepped up as well with those 2 games. Once Dwayne Pretorius' niggle is happened, I think Vian came through and he did a really great job with ball and bat. And he's someone for the future. It's just very hard fitting him into the side when you've got a guy who's experienced like Dwayne Pretorius. But he got his opportunity, and he next time the Lions play white ball cricket, even red ball cricket. Here's the problem: red ball cricket in the next week. Who do you pick? Who do you pick from this team? On top of that, you've got Dom Hendricks sitting at home. It's just mind-boggling. It's unbelievable, but it's an embarrassment of riches. And then from a bowling perspective, I was happy that the guys put up their hands. I wanted Bjorn to show that he's the best spinner in the country, and I think he did that. Keshav really brought it forward. So did George Linder, but I felt that Bjorn just made this Lions attack just really, really good. Pangiso, I still believe that he had one SA tour in him. I know they don't like him at the Proteas because of what's happened before, but the man is a really, really great bowler. And then like Sisanda, guys, I've spoken about Sisanda multiple times. That man's a Protea level bowler. If you ask me who I'm dropping, it's Anas. I'm sorry. I'm taking KJ, I'm taking Lungi, and I'm taking Sisanda. I need that type of experience in there. It was just amazing to watch him bowl in front of everyone and prove everyone wrong. And that for me was now when Graham Smith doesn't, when Victor or Brach don't pick Sisanda for this Pakistan tour, there'll be a question asked as to why. And but Sisanda's really proven himself. And I was really happy. Bjorn Hendricks as well, someone I wanted to come back into form. He really improved from that first game. But I think from a Protea level, the 3 that I've named, in terms of Lungi, KG, Sisanda, and maybe Anwar come before him. And I think Bjorn, yes, as a left arm option is great, and he's bowled really well. And he did well for the Lions. It's just I think he might have to wait for another situation to arrive for him to get into a Proteas jersey. But I was really happy with that. There was nothing more to prove apart from the fact that maybe we got to see Vian Mulder and what he can provide. We've got many more years with Vian, and he's shown to us that he's a white level. He's a all format player, and he can also he doesn't need to take the pitch into account, which is something that bothered all the top order today and yesterday. Was the pitches were slow, they couldn't get off, but Vian somehow found it very comfortable to move the ball around and manipulate, which is something that might bring him into the reckoning from a Proteas perspective in the next few white ball series.
I'm gonna ask Aditya and obviously Aaron, the both of you. Did you guys get to watch a lot of the games yourself? Just nod for me.
Not really, no. Unfortunately,
Not
I
really,
didn't
okay.
have the channel. I mean, I caught it with 2 games.
No,
I saw today's game and the Dolphins-Titans one, which we lost by 7 runs, which wasn't ideal. I bet Shay was happy. Yeah, there we go. Fist bump in the celebration. But no, in terms of, I've been keeping up with it on Cricket Info, and that looked like a very good tournament. And yeah, good final today if you're a Lions fan like Impo.
Okay, cool. Then Aditya, then this one's going to come to you first, and I just want to know from your perspective, who really stood out for you with regards to the top players in the tournament? Now, I have the top 10s available. I'll bring them on the screen as you talk. But who were some of the players that really impressed you in this particular tournament?
I have to say Reza Hendricks and Sisanda Magala. I mean, these are 2 players that I was also watching out for. And it turns out that highest run scorer in the tournament and then highest wicket taker in the tournament. So it was good to see. I think we've been talking about both players on previous shows quite a lot. And to see how well that they've done, and not to mention Temba Booma's captaincy. I thought today of all days he was clinical. He was ruthless. Bringing KG on to take David Miller out was absolute genius. Even though the Lions were well on top even by that point.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up the top run scorers in the tournament so far. And he's mentioned Reza, who sits right on top of here. So an excellent tournament for Reza. Yes, he's had 2 more games than some players on the list. But generally speaking, he was excellent. I think he was consistent. It's a pity that he couldn't convert some of those 40s and 30s into 50s. It would have really pushed him ahead of everybody else in this particular tournament. The top guys, obviously Temba had a good tournament as well. Hey guys, averaging above 40 in T20 cricket, so you guys can't really say anything about that. We've got Rassie van der Dussen over here also performing. The guys that we expect to perform, David Miller. Paita was very impressed with the way he played, especially with regards to the team that he was in that was struggling a bit, yet he performed quite well. You can see over here Zubair Hamza. Now, right at the bottom of here, I was very impressed with Reinhard van Tonder, and someone that is not on this list, Tristan Stubbs. I think we have to give that boy some like excellent credit, and congratulations for such a great tournament. I mean, your first proper tournament for your team, and to be able to do what you've done. I mean, I remember watching you when you were at Kamajora Week and having an interview afterwards. Guys, that interview, I'll remember it forever the rest of my life, because he was so laid back. Like I got this typical surfer vibe from him, where he's just like, yeah, it was really cool. The tournament was really cool. And he was dominant in that tournament, top the run scoring, was the top run scorer in the tournament, very successful in that tournament. And he was, it was really cool. I'm really happy for the team and that I could contribute. I was like, geez, to see a youngster that like that, is so calm, so collected, so humble. I like to see that. I know that we expect that from sports. And generally speaking, everybody just expects that our sport should behave like that. But really excellent from Tristan Stubbs. Aditya, you mentioned over there Magala. Now, we've been speaking about Magala hectically and for a couple of streams. Is there any other bowler that really stood out to you? Here's the top bowlers list.
I thought Lungi did pretty well, and KG as well. Although KG isn't one would expect that he would typically be higher up that list, but I thought they did fine. And I have to say again, I know Bjorn Fortin isn't on that list, but going by today's performance and seeing how he set the tone in that first over was quite crucial. I think he stuck to his line, and he really set the tone for the rest of the Lions innings as well as the Dolphins.
I'm going to give a special shout out over here to Mti Nabe. I think he was excellent coming in later in the tournament and then performing as well as he did. He was undroppable towards the end. I think I'm going to give another special mention to Siyabonga Mahima, who I'm going to try to get an interview with this week, guys. And then, of course, Lizard Williams, I have to say. And obviously, Bartman, we've heard about it, but Lizard showed fire, passion, accuracy, tenacity, everything that you want to see in a fast bowler. I think Lizard was excellent in this particular tournament. Yes, Simpo.
So Mtiwakaya, yes. No, so Mtiwakaya Nabe is unbelievable. He was really great on these wickets. I think on quicker wickets he might struggle, but he bowled with a lot of control. He bowled wicket to wicket. It just worked for him, and that was a type of he identified the length very quickly and the pace, and he just got many batsmen in trouble. And the problem with the Warriors is that they started the tournament off slowly because they didn't have their combinations right, and they got them towards the end. It was just really disappointing yesterday that they couldn't figure out how that bowling thing worked, because you have a guy who's also needs a shout out, Lizo Makosi, who I think for me in the next T20 World Cup or the next two, he's probably going to be trying to fight him for a spot in the World Cup team, because we were struggling with leggies, and he was one who bowled with a lot of control. He had his googly on point. It's just sad that the Warriors didn't use him yesterday. But the other guy I think we're not talking about is Ayaka Mane. He just batted. I think he's the closest one to a 200 strike rate. If I might speak under correction there, and he just laid into everybody, power hitting like extraordinaire. He just took it apart and he took them through. The one thing I want to say about the Knights is that I'm really disappointed that they didn't go with Reinhard van Tonder. And if you look at the way the teams were structured throughout this week, they had a lot of what people would have pigeonholed as red ball specialists sitting at number 3 or number 2, and they never. And the Knights were the first team to not have their red ball specialist in there, and give him a lot of games. And you saw how well he did. He's a great player of spin, which is something that might make the selectors think again. Maybe he might play against Pakistan to see maybe he might get on the plane. But he showed that he's a cut above everything. That's what this tournament was. This tournament was for everyone else who isn't a Protea to step up and put their hands up. And you've named Magala, you've named Tristan Stubbs, you've named Reynard, you've named Zubi. Zubi's a Protea, but he only had like one series. Those are the guys who really stepped up. Kesh asked for his name to be included on the plane, which is very true. George Linder showed us that he's an all-rounder and not necessarily just a left-arm spinner with a little bit of batting. I just wish that we could see more guys like Ruan de Swart. I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more from Jacques Snyman, even though I think something happened in Pakistan that got Jacques Snyman and Ryan Rickerton a little bit off. Ryan needs to go back and work on how he plays spin. I think that's something that he'll need to work with. He got a very poor decision today from Bongani Jele. I just kind of felt it was a little bit unfair because he was outside the line, but we can talk about that run out, and because I think Jan was out at that point in time with that awkward run out. But Miguel Pretorius also showed us glimpses. I think his power hitting is something that can help the Proteas. Marco Janssen showed why he got his IPL contract, which is good. I just that Warriors team works well as a team, but individually at times you kind of feel as though there's a massive drop between the Protea level guys and everyone else, but they managed to scrounge around some games because they just that's who they are. But the other person who I think batted well he just died out towards the back end was Tashile. I think the captaincy wore on him a lot, but Snatemba showed us that he can also do something here. But it's just my problem is we don't know from a brand of cricket that the world is playing. This tournament was great. We got a tournament and everyone's playing white ball cricket. I think we're 5 years behind the rest of the world, and that's something that we need to discuss, even on these pitches, because these are the type of pitches you might get in India, and you still need to find a way to score 170. And we only got a few scores of over 170, and that for me was something that we need to address very quickly.
Yeah, I think the Warriors also missed out on having someone like Matthew Brzezinski there. I think they really missed him in this particular tournament. Up the top of the order, guys getting runs over there.
Was he injured?
Well, from what he told me, he said he was injured, but I think he was getting back to fitness. I don't think they maybe wanted to risk injuring him further, maybe rushing him back quickly. I think that must maybe
because that would have made their batting lineup a lot stronger.
Yeah, Matthew Brzezinski would have been. I mean, he had great experience from Mandela Bay Giants.
Yes, he opened for them.
Yes. Sorry, I forgot because I changed the names. Josie Stars Mandela Bay Giants. It used to be the other way around, I think it was, when the regional global T20 came out. Okay, so we're going to move on this conversation and get to talking, because this actually gives us a perfect platform to talk about the next thing and also to introduce our next guest. Uncle Ravi's on the show. So welcome to the show, Uncle Ravi. We have a great time now to speak about the levels of cricket. And I think this tournament was a bit of a, how can I say it? It was a bit of a not a promotion, but it was a way to show what South Africa's standard of cricket is. Some of the talent in this country, how they face against some of the Proteas bowlers. So it was sort of could actually show the standard of South African cricket, basically in domestic cricket. How many players can play different formats, all of those type of things. We've got so many games around the world. We've had New Zealand versus Australia. We've got England versus India in the Test series. We've got even in women's cricket, New Zealand versus England as well. And I think South Africa's obviously played Pakistan recently. We've got South Africa going to India in a tour. I think it's 5 ODIs and 3 T20s. So like we've got a lot of women's cricket. I think women's cricket is in the strongest place it's been. I think at the moment it's some excellent cricket being played. I think competitively amongst all teams, you can say any team is on top of their game on the day. I mean, from the West Indies, right, to Bangladesh, to Pakistan, to Sri Lanka, all the women's teams are very, very strong and can really compete. Yes, you have your powerhouses still, I mean, Australia, the money's all in Australia with regards to women's cricket, and then England as well. And then you have your New Zealand, who always step up in for regards to women's cricket, and South Africa always competitive. So I think women's cricket currently, personally, I feel is currently stronger than men's cricket. I'm going to put that out there now, and you guys might disagree with me or maybe agree with me, but I think currently the way women's cricket is growing, it's a lot in a much stronger place. If we look back, and I'm going to start with Aaron, because Aaron didn't get an opportunity to speak here, and then I'm going to move over to Ravi, because Ravi can give us an insight into more of the past with regards to the talent that was there before, especially in men's cricket and the world game. When you look at cricket right now, obviously remembering the legends of the game back in the days when we had, I mean, incredible 11s right through the world. Sri Lanka had a competitive team. West Indies had a competitive team. England always had, obviously, an Australian and South Africans of the world, and India. But Sri Lanka, Pakistan, I mean, legends of the game back then. It's dipped off kind of this time around, especially in Test cricket. We're not seeing the same competitive natures in Test cricket, I feel. I think Test cricket, the standard of Test cricket has kind of dropped off. I mean, particularly, I know that it's got a lot to do with the pitch, but to see a Test match in this day and age end in 2 days was really frustrating for me. I think it's frustrating for a lot of people around the world. I think the bottom 3 and obviously uneven butts, I think everybody can actually speak about this on the screen. But let's start with you, Aaron. From a global scale, from a global game at the moment, where do you think cricket is sitting right now? Are we worse off, or are we maybe just on the brink of becoming, again, very competitive all around the world?
Well, it's an incredibly interesting question, and it depends which perspective you want to look at it from. Because if we do take Test cricket, for example, there is a genuine concern that they are monopolising the Test arena. Okay, the big 3, everybody says it, Australia, England, India. We see far more bilateral series between these nations now than we did before. And of course, they go where the money is. It's as simple as that. Test cricket, for those who don't know, is incredibly expensive to actually maintain, to put these series together. That's why you see countries such as Bangladesh, Zimbabwe, for example, Afghanistan, Ireland, they don't play these big 4 or 5 match series. They usually play a 2-3 match, maybe maximum. So again, it depends what perspective. But there is one thing I will say, which I have to give the ICC an immense amount of credit for, and it's actually about associate cricket. Now, you won't be able to see this. I'm actually in a Gibraltar cricket hoodie tonight, so I thought I'd spice things up, considering it's to talk about global cricket. But in 2017, there was ICC reforms, basically, and we used to have 3 layers. So you'd have 4 members, so your England, your Indias, your Australia, South Africa, Pakistan, etc. You'd have your associate, which is like the next one down. They play some ODIs, T20s, for example, and then you had affiliate. Now, in the modern era, there is no such thing as affiliates. Everyone is an associate unless you have Test status. So this allows for some fantastic tournaments, and we've seen this in regional qualifiers in the Caribbean. We've seen this in regional qualifiers in South America with the fantastic South American Cup that you get between Brazil, Peru, Argentina, Chile. So we are seeing cricket becoming a much more global game in terms of associate cricket. It's just Test cricket. It's the creme de la creme, the premier, the premium, the pinnacle of our game, which is becoming monopolised. And it's been happening for years. And a massive reason behind that is because of the ICC's revenue share. So basically, the big 3 have a tremendous share of the pie. Think of it as a pie. Okay, and out of 100%, they have a good 60%. Bear in mind that there are 104 members of the International Cricket Council, and 3 of them have 60%. So that's where the big issue comes from. And I'm not going to go into tremendous detail about that. There's a fantastic documentary featuring Jared Kimber, one of my absolute favourite analysts. It's called Death of a Gentleman. Really explores this issue in depth. But that's why. That is why. So in terms of Test nations and full members, yes, I think that we are in a bit of a worse scenario. We look back to the 2000s, for example, in that golden age. You'd have Sri Lanka, Pakistan, the West Indies, everybody competing in the Test arena. And now we see more and more. If you look at the top 4 in the Test Championship, they are miles above everyone. Look at the difference between England, India, Australia, and the rest. And that isn't how Test cricket should be. We need competitive, close-fought Test matches, just as we saw in Bangladesh with the Bangladesh-West Indies series. So yes, to answer your question, Khalid, in Test cricket, 100%. But with associate cricket, and if you want me to go into more detail as this podcast progresses, I do think that we are making tremendous strides to make cricket a far more global game.
Ravi, I mean, you're a massive West Indies fan as well. We talk about that famous West Indies side of the past. And the way Test cricket particularly, I feel, how that is at the moment. And talking about the West Indies guys from the past as well. I mean, some competitive teams back in the day. I mean, I used to remember being quite fearful of the bowling attacks that West Indies used to put on the field. And even a guy like Chandra Paul back in the day, when he came into the middle, you knew you were going to be there for a long time out there in that field. The days of Shankakara, the days of Jai Wardena. India, I think, is one of those teams that have kept the consistency over the years of creating global superstars in the game. I mean, consistently over the years, Sachin Tendulkar's, the MS Dhoni, you've got Virat Kohli. They've consistently brought out these world superstars, and I think it's also because of, we can have Aditya talk a little bit about Indian cricket and where he thinks it's going, and if it is in a stronger place than it was before. Because I kind of think Indian cricket is, and that's maybe a bit of a controversial saying, but I think that the intensity of India, I think, has increased kind of. I think, yes, they need to start winning World Cups now in this era, like with the team that they have right now, winning major tournaments. But Uncle Ravi, what's your take on this particular topic and this particular,
Well, it's quite a loaded question. I could talk about all of the legends from the past, I should say. But what I can tell you is that when India, the West Indies, used to come down to South Africa, effectively they would be the whipping boys, in a manner of speaking. In West Indies, I remember as a youth, got drummed 5-0 in what was labeled the Whitewash Series of 98-99. India, I remember, got skittled for 166. So 100 in the first innings and 66 in the second innings in a touring team in 1996. And that was greeted by a bowling attack consisting of Donald and Pollock. One of the early iterations, if you will. So it's amazing how things have changed. And I think it comes down to how much reinvestment those specific boards have made on their cricket, their grassroots, the exposure, their preparation. Because effectively what used to happen is that India used to do very well at home and then not do so well away. But slowly the cycle started changing. I mean, up until very recently, they picked up a very big series win in Australia. And I never thought I'd ever see the day, and no offense on Ditya, I never thought I'd ever see the day India would beat Australia in Australia, right? You know what I'm saying? And I'll be honest, and I suppose the same goes for you as well, but I never thought I'd ever see the day that would happen. West Indies, a lot of people don't really remember this and won't consider this a series win, but the West Indies actually won a T20 series against South Africa over here, I think in 2015. So it's amazing how things have gone. They used to be the whipping boys in the longer formats of the game, but what's happened in the space of the last 10 years is that the Windies have become aficionados, if you will, in the T20 game. And then you've got the big three of specialized across, who have invested so much all across the board in all three formats. So much so they have different captains, different sets of players per format. If you look at England, and Shay may come in here, you look at the England T20 team versus the Test team versus the One Day Internationals, almost three different sets of guys. Whereas if you look at a Bangladesh team, Shakib is playing all of the formats. You look at the West Indies team, Chris Gayle and Fidel Edwards are coming back. That for me is actually the biggest talking point, by the way. I'm so glad to see Fidel Edwards back. I'm so stoked to see that dude. The elder statesmen are making a return to the T20 team. But I think what I'm basically trying to say is polarizing differences between the big three from all format point of view. And you've got the smaller guys, and I think the point was made earlier where they play fewer test matches because it is a costly endeavor. It is costly. The money, the television rights, and plus that's the other thing. It comes down to supply and demand. Who's going to watch? And no offense to all of our Bangladesh viewers or Zimbabwean viewers that are watching, but let's be honest, I don't even think you guys would want to watch a test match between Bangladesh and Zimbabwe, except for Aaron and Edinburgh, right? There's two guys. Oh wow, did you three guys? Yay! Okay. While you watching that, I'll watch some momentum.
Hey, I watched Afghanistan versus Ireland in India. That was probably one of the best test matches I've ever watched.
So there's one more person and the actual person sitting in the ground watching the game. So that's great. But no, that's the thing is that here's the reality, right? You're going to get a situation that the match lasts 2 or 3 days. Now, the problem is it happened within the big three, where a match lasted 2 days, and nobody would ever have thought that. I wouldn't have bet my last cent on that, and it happened, and that upset me for a number of reasons. One, not so much that the pitch was obviously something to be debated about, but it just, for me, it just seemed that there was not much consideration by anybody that this match should, in all essence, be played to the very towards a lengthier period. I mean, a lot of people say it's a lack of application. I don't think so. I watched the dismissals, and I have to say every single delivery was a pretty good one, with the exception of some questionable shots at the tail enders. But I mean, come on, 2 days. You guys can't be serious. The guys I felt sorry for the most were the people at the ground, because they're delusional, thinking, yeah, we won, we beat England, but shit, what are we going to do for the next 3 days? You know, I don't know. I just think there's something that needs to be looked at. I really think something clearly unorthodox happened there. For 22 people to have a shot at betting on the same day, that's just ludicrous to me. Sorry. I don't know what to, sorry, rant over. I'm the guy sitting at the back of an Irish pub that's shouting for no random reason, and the screen is completely black. And that is pretty much India the last 3 days, isn't it? No test cricket, at least. Anyways.
Yeah. So I just want to first say a shout out to Dex. Thanks a lot for the super chat as per usual. You always give us a super chat every single week. Shay, I'm going to hand the questions over to you. Some questions over to you. You can ask maybe Aditya, whoever you want to ask any questions. I think maybe start with Aditya, but the questions are over to you for a while. You can ask a couple of questions.
So Aditya, I'm sure you saw in Cricket Info yesterday. I'm sure it published various places, but obviously there was talk of India opposing the idea of the ICC saying that there should be a bidding process for the next cycle of world tournaments from 2023 to 2031. What's your views on that, Aditya, as obviously as an Indian fan?
I'd like to see that happen, because I think over the last 10 years or so now, we can say, from the 2015 to the next set of World Cups, 2021 I think is supposed to be in. 2023 is supposed to be in India, 50 over. And then I think the next one is scheduled for Australia again. So I think the bidding process will help more countries host the process. I don't know if I understand this correctly, but I think that's what the ICC is aiming for again. Because the last time the South Africa had a World Cup, for example, it was 2003. So it's perhaps an opportunity to level the playing field.
It was 2007. It was the ICC T20 World Cup.
Oh, I was talking about 50 over, actually. Yeah. So perhaps it's, I think India has a certain degree of clout in the ICC, and I can understand why they might have rejected the notion that a bidding process might be useful. And I personally don't agree with it. I'd like to see more countries hosted. But yeah, let's see how the process goes. It's going to be a fight, unfortunately.
I mean, the conversation today is obviously about making cricket more global, which Aaron's obviously elaborates on in associate cricket. But the reality is, if other countries outside of the big three are not hosting tournaments, world tournaments on a regular scale, how are you going to encourage the local people in that respective country to really warm to the game? I mean, it's great to watch on TV, but I mean, surely a way to expand the game throughout the world is to have tournaments being played and the buzz being created with a marketing machine behind it in respective countries every 2 to 4 years. I mean, Umpul, I'll go to you on that front. What are your views, obviously, on this recent article yesterday that was published?
Look, I don't want to go into the problem I have with the bidding war is that the country with the most amount of money or the most amount of resources might end up winning, and you see that in like the FIFA World Cup, the way it's now all of a sudden going around. It's Europe. It's now going back to the US. They're probably going to take it to China because that's where the money is. And to a certain extent, you need to chase the money. But it's also, as you say, it's not growing the game because you're not bringing World Cups outside of the big three. And for the ICC, the big three give them the best, the most optimal solution to getting the most amount of money for the game. Yes, it still riches the big three, but the most amount of money then goes and helps the associates. And I don't want to call them associates because I honestly don't think we should, because it's the next level of nations who play cricket. And to a certain extent, you gotta balance that. But I do think World Cups in New Zealand, World Cups in South Africa, World Cups spread maybe mainly across Asia, like that 2011 World Cup was, isn't a bad thing to go through, or even maybe in the West Indies, because you need to bring cricket back, and that's how you get fans. That's how you get people interested in the game. That's how you grow the game. The fact that the West Indies were crying for people to tour the West Indies last year and nobody went is sacrilegious. You cannot allow that to happen, because I think for me, outside of everyone else, the West Indies is probably the one part of the world where cricket is being played, but there's not a lot of money, and they're making something out of nothing. And all those nations, I applaud, because you're still putting out competitive teams year in, year out. Yes, you're not competing with the big three, but the money's not coming in because you're always in someone else's country and they get the rights and they get the money for the rights, but you don't get anything. But I do think to grow the game, we need to, the bidding process goes one way, but the question is, do the countries have the amount of money to bid? And here's the other thing. Would you agree to a World Cup in the USA? If the USA said, yes, we can bid for it, would you agree to having a World Cup in the USA? Or for instance, maybe in the UAE? Even though, yes, the UAE probably won't have an associate nation, or will have an associate nation, but they might not necessarily have a team that can compete at the World Cup. Would we be okay with that, or any parts of Northern Asia instead of Southern Asia? So that's the question I want. If that's gonna happen, then fine. Let's bid it around, but let everybody in the world bid for it, and let's see if we can't take the game to the farthest reaches of the world.
Sorry, others laughed at this comment. PCC is the mother-in-law of ICC. I was like, wow. Yeah. Not all mother-in-laws are terrible. Ask Ravi. Ask all the guys on the screen here that are married. Not all mother-in-laws are terrible. Guys, come on now.
I'll plead the fifth if I answer.
Yeah. That is a loaded question right there, if there was one. Can I say one thing to Aaron, obviously, to finish off? I suppose everyone know, but Aaron, there's one question I have for you. Obviously, you were talking before about associate cricket, obviously, quote unquote associate umpire, but associate cricket obviously being developed now. 104 playing nations now. That's all good and well, and it's great to see more and more countries get involved with cricket, and there's obviously funding being made available for this, for the growth of the game. But if you look actually the current situation with Test cricket, so if we take for example a decent pool of data would be Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh, I think, received Test dates in 2000. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
That's right.
So 21 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how many series have they won against major nations away from home?
Well, fair enough. Not many, but they have won at home. They beat us at home in 2016, Australia in 2017. So although they don't tour well, at least they do win series. I mean, you have to give that to them. 21 years. Just compare that to England and Australia, for example, have been playing since 1877. I don't think it's fair to just compare those, to be honest.
I don't criticize Bangladesh per se. What I'm trying to say is that maybe the logic is flawed in the approach by the IC, right. What I've seen. Because obviously, you look at, for example, like Sri Lanka came in the 80s. It took some time for developing a world-class side. What I'm trying to say is it's all good and well developing smaller countries into cricket, but when you get obviously in the round the Test playing status, the disparity is huge. And if you're going to hit a top three and hit a ceiling, then there is no. This is going to perpetuate itself on and on and on, because you're not going to see. I don't want to see Australia and India and England just dominating cricket for the next 20, 30 years. I don't want to see that. I want to see a New Zealand top of the tree. I want to see Pakistan top of the tree, South Africa top of the tree. I love to see Afghanistan go to Australia and turn them over. And now that might be a utopia that will never exist. But what I'm trying to say is, generally speaking, in terms of cricket, more often than not, recently I think it's been wonderful to see India beat Australia in Australia, and West Indies in particular. That win was, I think, fantastic for cricket. If you want to talk about this on a wider level, not just the fact that West Indies won with almost a B-side, but that is what will grow the game, because ultimately people get just disenfranchised and bored with just the powers that be. And that's why I look at the states of do you really think that Ireland and Bangladesh, I really feel like Afghanistan and Ireland will be in the same place in 2041 that Bangladesh are now. And that's the problem. That's where it's flawed, in my opinion. I'm going to use Bangladesh as an example because there's a decent pool of data in 20 years. But if we get to, there has to be things put in place to rectify these problems. Otherwise, it's going to go. The cycle's going to continue forward. And that's why yesterday's article horrified me, to be completely honest, because it just worries me for the world game. I mean, a South African channel here, South Africa redid it. Against the odds, they were playing 2 Test match series consistently in the golden period, if you want to call that, from 2006 to 2015 when they were beaten away from home. Obviously have one of world-class players available to them, and maybe New Zealand will go and do the same thing. But these countries deserve to play at least a 3 Test match series on a consistent basis. New Zealand are top of the tree. When's the last time they played a 3 Test match series? In Australia 15 months ago. Is that right? I mean, it's just. I know. Listen, sports and business is inextricably linked, no matter what sport it is. We know that. We know. I don't think it's been pointed out before with the revenue. I understand that you've got to chase the money. Dare I say it? But at the same time, if we're going to break this seal of what I can see the top 3 and above, or we're going to be looking up constantly from everyone else, because I just feel like that's why Test cricket will. I'll say die, but it will continue to dwindle unless you have more competitive series across the year, across the world. Because now I think even England is a strong side. Aaron, you mean England fans, we knew we were going to lose in India pretty much. It was resigned to losing, and that's why you see a West Indies turn with Bangladesh. You're shocked because you wasn't expecting it, but we need to see more of those kind of results. India beats Australia in Australia, more that to happen to grow the game at a wider level, because that will get people interested. Because it's not a case of going there and say, oh, well, who cares? And you're going to win, it's at home. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's where I think that the regular fan, because it's important, you're a hardcore. Aaron, you're a hardcore. Aditya, you're a hardcore. But we're not the norm. We're a small percentage. To grow the game, you need Tom, Dick, and Harry to say, what's this thing about? Oh, okay, it's interesting, it's fun. And that team won. That's why I think, and Paul already mentioned, I mean, it's a bit off field here, but the draw system for the provincial teams, I thought it was an excellent idea, to coin with American football, because that it encourages competitiveness throughout the sides. And I want to see the same thing in Test cricket. I said, we're hardcores. We're going to watch any game, Afghanistan and, but we're not. It's like boxing this. It's like hardcores don't run the game. Casuals do. Casuals run the game. They fund the game. They will grow the game, not us. We're just hardcore fans. Yeah. So that's where I think we're being let down. And casuals would not be interested in following the game intensely like we do if you have the same sides over and over again, hosting tournaments, winning game, winning series. It will just carry on. So that's my worry. Anyway, that's me.
I wanna pose something here. Like, this is look here, guys. You're gonna now get an insight into my weird ass brain. Improvising over here on the spot. But Test cricket, obviously, a format that's supposed to test people, like to test teams, obviously at the highest level. And I'm looking around the world, and possibly at the moment, the hardest conditions to playing is probably the subcontinent. We saw India as well struggle to bat in subcontinent conditions. I mean, it wasn't only England that was struggling in that particular Test match at the end. I mean, both teams struggled. Yes, India got over the line in the end of the day. As the pitch deteriorated, obviously, if you're going to be obviously bowling second, then obviously the whole game is going to be a whole different story. When I'm thinking of it, is it too far-fetched to say that the ICC come in here and they say, we want to make Test cricket competitive again. We want to make it interesting. We want to get people to understand and educate people on the way. So by doing this, I'm saying, for example, preparing certain grounds in the world for different stages. So if you're going to have a Test championship, for example, now I know it's going to be difficult maybe to do it this way, because we're playing on different grounds. But what I'm saying is try as best as possible to find grounds to take away the home advantage from the top teams, because I mean to level the playing field, to really test players at the top level. So I'm saying, for example, maybe you can have rounds. So each team plays in the first round. We pick 3 or 4 neutral grounds that have been checked out by the ICC and said, okay, cool, this is good for batting and bowling. And in the first round of the Test Championship, you can maybe have all the teams competing on neutral, on relatively balanced grounds that across the world, maybe in different cities. Doesn't necessarily have to be in their country. Maybe you can say, okay, look here. I don't know all the grounds in England and how it works, but let's say maybe a neutral ground in England and then a neutral ground in Cape Town. I think Cape Town Newlands will probably be the most neutral ground in South Africa, that you can prepare the pitches as well. Then you can pick a neutral ground maybe in India, and then you pick a neutral ground in some other countries. And 2 teams play. No, I think neutral ground for everybody. I mean, Newlands. No, but I'm checking. I'm just talking about the way the pitch is prepared, so that it gives enough for the batsmen and both for the bowlers. And then as you go through the tournament and as the game progresses, it gets harder. So you'll play then maybe in batting friendly wickets, and then maybe only spinning friendly wickets, and then maybe the final can be on spinner friendly in the most toughest conditions possible, or whatever the case may be, just to make it more exciting maybe. Or another idea, I know that's a far-fetched idea, that's difficult to probably to control by the ICC, but what about just making Test cricket on neutral grounds as neutral as possible? I think it is possible for India to be able to prepare. You could see in the first Test, it wasn't as, I would say, spinner friendly as the second time around. It wasn't as it wasn't as big as a dust bowl. So it is possible to create pitches that are more or less neutral. What do you guys think of that? Anybody can jump in.
I've got something to add here. I think what the alert for Test cricket for me growing up, largely in the Smith era, was conquering the world. Being able to go around the world, and well, he never lost Test series, but I can talk to you about Nagpur with Dale Steyn and how we pulled that out there, and going around the world and beating teams in their own conditions that way. And for me, that makes the intrigue that's what made that 2-day test so intriguing to me. It wasn't the fact that it ended in 2 days and everyone was frustrated. It was, and Aditya can comment here, those red soil pitches are the pitches that normally are what people play on in India. That's what Ravi Ashwin was saying. So if everyone's complaining that, no, it wasn't a fair contest, but everyone was playing on the same pitch, yes, it wasn't entertaining for TV and everything else, but that's the allure of playing Test cricket. I go around the world and I try to beat teams in their own conditions. New Zealand rolled out a lawn and nobody complained. And Pakistan got hammered 6 ways to Sunday, and everyone's like, okay, cool. But I was intriguing because that's what New Zealand provides. And so I want to keep that home aspect there, but maybe, let's say, take the toss away and say, you as the away team need to decide, looking at the conditions in front of you, what you want to do. So for instance, if I arrive and it's that red soil situation that happened, and I'm Joe Root, you need to decide whether you're going to bat or bowl first. So you can get possibly the best of the conditions, and you can choose when the best of the conditions are. So I think that needs to happen. The one thing that I was thinking for the smaller teams is they need to play more Test cricket. Afghanistan's only played like 2 tests in I don't know how long. They need to play more. So to Ireland, they need to play more tests. You need to find a centralized, and I think this is where the ICC missed it. ICC only centralizes broadcast rights for their tournaments, but they need to try to centralize the broadcast rights for probably all of the games all of the international cricket games that are played, and then they try and bulk sell them onto broadcasters. So, for instance, if SuperSports bought a portion, whatever portion that is, that portion will always include South Africa, but it might also include an offshoot of an Afghanistan, whatever it is, or any other test series from low-level nations that can fill whatever barrier is. It kind of then allows the ICC to spread out the revenue if it's all in bulk, rather than necessarily every country needs to fight and try get their own thing. So my thing with the World Test Championship, I always thought that that's what the World Test Championship wanted to do with Test cricket, in terms of, from the first point, trying to get teams to play home and away, so you can do that. I just wanted guys to have that concept of, I'm traveling around the world. For me, India will never be a world-beating Test side until they go play in Pakistan, and or in the UAE. That for me is something that needs to happen. Because that's the whole notion of conquering the world. You need to travel the world. You need to show us that you can do it. That's why this current Indian team did it, and they're trying to do that. And England are trying to do that now, trying to go in India. And if they come out with a win in the final test, it's a draw. Take it, run away, and go home with it. That's something you can put onto Joe Root's under Joe Root's hat. But I want that element. I want that ability to say that I have ticked off the world map who I've beaten, and maybe the World Test Championship needs to do that a little bit more, and also have a minimum set of tests. This thing of you split 120 points across the number of tests you have is just ridiculous. You need to have a minimum set of. You can do that, but you need to have a minimum, and your minimum should be 3. It can't be 2. New Zealand were winning too many 60-pointers for anybody to be able to catch up with him, and that I think was slightly unfair. And guys need to travel. Like, this thing that Australia did is rubbish. I get we're in a COVID world, but they needed to come here. You need to create that thing, and the only way it can happen is if the big 3 go. And that's the sad thing about this, is that you have guys who can sell cricket, but they don't want to go and be missionaries. They want to go to places where everybody knows cricket. They need to come to South Africa. They need to go to Bangladesh. They need to go to Pakistan. They need to go and tour the world. They need to do that, and that's the only way you can grow the game. Outside of that, it'll always be the big 3 and everyone else. And you always get that one side that's good enough to challenge the big 3, and that everyone will support. Like right now in that World Test Championship final, it's New Zealand. We're supporting a New Zealand side, and we just pray and hope that the curator at Lords gives them a semblance of grass, and hopefully they can come through.
Cool. So we're going to wrap this up right now. So I'm going to start off the wrap up by giving each and every person on the screen, obviously, to give their final thoughts on the topic that we spoke about today. But I'm going to add a little twist to it. So first and foremost, I'm going to ask Aaron a question from the comment section that is directed to you, one of the super chats, first and foremost, and you're going to start that off. But at the end of your little speech about what you think your wrap-up topic is, I want you to give one recommended song on your playlist that you currently listen to the fans to go listen to. And I want you to give one particular series that you would recommend to the fans to go and watch in their spare time to binge. So that's other than the cricket that they're watching. Aaron, I'm going to start with you. You can start thinking while you're talking, but this is the first and foremost a question that was pointed to you.
I know, I saw that.
Guatemala plays better spin than England. Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Dex, for the super chat.
Nothing against Guatemala, and for those who want an education, I can give a quick fact file about the Central American country. Capital's Guatemala City. They have a quetzal, which is their national bird. It's on the flag. So there you go. And of course, they do actually have a cricket team. So there you go. If you want to watch Guatemala, see them play against Belize, be my guest. That's all I'll say, Dex. And to be fair, Central American pitches apparently do offer quite a nice bit of spin. So, yeah, maybe that would be quite a nice bilateral series in the future. But with regards to that, I'll actually I'll pick up my point with that, to be honest. With regards to associate cricket, this is what I'd say. I recommend that you watch as much as you can. Okay, fair enough, it's not to the standard of England versus India, Australia versus South Africa, whoever's playing. It's not up to that standard. But it is getting better and better and better. And you look at the last ICC Cricket Super League, which was between America, Papua New Guinea, Scotland, Namibia, Oman. The standard of cricket was just getting better and better as each of those games actually progressed. And there was an absolute cracker between USA and Papua New Guinea. Such a closely fought contest. Aaron Jones was absolutely fantastic with the bats. So that's all I'll say. With regards to associate cricket, fair enough. We shouldn't have that split in the first place. Everybody, it should be a bit more like football, in my opinion, where everybody can play each other. We don't see enough associate teams playing against full teams, for example. But we've mentioned the big three a lot in this particular podcast. I do just have to mention England, because England actually have done this quite well. So we were meant to have a series against Netherlands in 2020. We played Scotland in Edinburgh in 2018. Ireland came over here in 2019. We've also played them plenty of times before. So in that regard, England are actually trying to build up a global rapport with the game. I don't think it's fair to just group us in and say, okay, England are only playing against India, Australia. The fact is England are trying their best, okay, albeit it could be more, but England are trying their best in these current times to actually grow it to these smaller nations. So you have to give the ECB a little bit of credit for that, in my opinion. But with regards to your second part of the question, Khalid, in terms of a song on the playlist, oh my word, I've not got a clue. In terms of series, I'll give that first. Inside Edge, for anyone who's got Amazon Prime. It's in Hindi, so maybe if you don't speak Hindi, put the subtitles on. All about cricket, match fixing. It's basically, what's it called? The Power Play Cricket League, I think. Have you seen it, Aditya?
It was awful, mate. I'm sorry.
I beg to differ. To be honest, I probably just like watching the cricket bits. I didn't actually understand much of the story, to be honest. In terms, and of course, yes, as someone close to Birmingham, Peaky Blinders. Then there you go. I'll go with a cliche one. And then, of course, in terms of the song on the playlist, I actually have not got a clue. I've got loads on the playlist in different languages as well. In terms of a South African one, I think it's called Clever, Kleva. Recently listened to that one. So yeah, I'd recommend that and This Girl by Kungs versus Cooking on Three Burners, which is the Warwickshire song. There you go.
Awesome. Okay, Aditya, your turn, bro.
Okay. So we were talking about the World Test Championship, right? And in that, I said this on Shay's show on Even Barnes that if the ICC was organizing this in a 2-year cycle, they should perhaps have regulated the pitches as well. Maybe have an independent division whereby a team can have home advantage, but they can't really run with it, as India seem to have done right now, and I suppose virtually every team tends to do. With that said, cricket is about home and away advantage, and the diversity of conditions is what really makes cricket as engaging as it is. So I don't think we should do away with it completely. But I think a turning point for me in this period was perhaps that 2015 series between India and South Africa. Because if you go back to the 2010 series between India and South Africa and India, I think Hashim Amla was dismissed only once, and he made 2 double hundreds. And although India won the series, no one could say that South Africa hadn't batted well. I think they'd done brilliantly well. But to see how that changed in 2015, where not even the South Africans, but also the Indians struggled on what were ranked turners, was quite disappointing. And I felt like that was a turning point where there was more of a disparity between performances at home versus performances away from home. So that's something that I'd like to see changed. One reason that I feel like the standard of Test cricket is perhaps not where it used to be is because if you look at the way whiteboard cricket is now played, and a significant amount of cricket is whiteboard cricket. With 2 newborns, there's very little opportunity for reverse swing. And then we have pitches where they're producing a minimum of 300, 350 runs. They're playing on flat roads, essentially. Whereas back in the day, when players used to have reverse swing on offer, post the 35th or 40th over, and they played on pitches that were not exactly as flat as they are now, it challenged cricketers, even in the limited overs format. So I think that's somewhere that might have contributed to the skill in Test cricket as well, which made both limited overs and Test cricket as incredibly engaging. And I think somewhere that's not there now. So perhaps the ICC need to look into that. I don't know what else are we talking about. Yeah, so I guess I think to really sum it up, in order to avoid having this talk about pitches again. And the nature of some of these more treacherous surfaces, perhaps the ICC needs to look into it by having a separate wing and just regulating it in every series. But finally, I think if we're talking about a song, I can't think of a song right now off the top of my head. But if we're talking of a web series, I recommend. I'd go Indian on it, and I recommend 2 series that people should watch. One should be Special Ops. It came out last year, and the other should be a series called Tandav, Tandav. So look into it. They're both they're fun.
Awesome. Mpo, go take it away, brother.
Okay. Yeah, look, I think I've said most of what I needed to say. I think for us to grow the game, we need to get as many people playing the longest format of the game as possible. I understand the advent of white ball cricket has taken a lot of eyes, and it's a lot easier for global broadcasters to produce that. And that's why we see a lot of white ball cricket being played. But there needs to be a concerted effort from the ICC to get teams playing at least minimum from the big 9, big 8, however many you want to call the top teams in cricket, to play at least 10 test matches a year. And doing that and trying to fit that in and around with the white ball stuff. And it might give people more opportunities. But yeah, I think that's where the thing, I think the disparity we're seeing right now in international cricket, I think is a result of white ball cricket, but India found a way to make it work. They've got some really great white ball guys who came into the game playing white ball cricket, but are really stepping up in red ball cricket and are putting their hands up. And I think that's where many people say, Test cricket's gone to die because of T20 and ODIs and whatever it is. But India found a way, and I think it's now time for everyone to adapt. Yes, there's a money question. Yes, there's so many questions. But at least if you can do that and try train people up and make people work, then you can do that. And that's what I think the big three have managed to do well with the resources they've had, is that they've managed to be able to put out competitive sides. From a pitch debate, I still think that the ICC or the world is still very pro fast bowling. Like if you look at the ICC code for what a poor pitch is and the regulations, it's about a pitch taking spin on day 4 and 5. But what about the countries and the teams where spin works from day 1? Surely that should also help them. And so maybe that there's a much bigger discussion around that. And I'm okay with a pitch being poor, but it must be poor for everyone. It can't just be poor for one side. And those are the type of pitches many people were afraid of when people were trying India 3-4 years ago, was that if you won the toss and you batted first, it was game over. And that was the pitch in Chennai, the first pitch in Chennai that they were in the one where it was, if you won the toss, you effectively had the advantage. Whereas at least if it's an equal game, and yes, if everyone's getting bowled out for 100 years, we don't want that. But if it looks equal, then it's okay, and it's only going down to moments. That I'm happy with, and then I think that third test went down to moments, and the moment in that third test was Rohit Sharma scoring that 50, because he just seemed like he was very comfortable on that wicket. You asked me about my series and my music. Okay, so I listen to podcasts. I don't listen to music, but I'll give you a song that I've been listening to. It is by Mikasa. Everyone knows Mikasa. It's called Mamela. It's a romantic song. It really gets me going. I think it's yes, that one. It's beautiful. And obviously I discovered Eminem had a song with Beyonce, so I'm going through that one. It's called Walk on Water. I was like, wow, Eminem's back. Cool. I know, right? And the series that I'm watching, I'm about to start watching Love Island South Africa, which is weird. I'm gonna watch that.
I wasn't gonna try it just because I'm interested. I'm just interested to see what's
I can't believe you just said that on board. Your estimation is going down, bro. I can't believe that. This man who I admire so much as an analyst in cricket, he just told me he's going to watch Love Island, bro. Come on, man. You don't say that words. Cut this bit out, Harley. Cut this bit out, man. This man didn't say he's
But-
trolling. He's trolling. 100%. He's trolling here. 100%.
But outside of that, I'm watching New Amsterdam, which is new on
Ah, that's
Netflix. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Shai taking a look at Shai. I doubt he's watched any other live island. I think he's only watching it because it's in South Africa.
Yeah, that's the only one.
He's always saw the chicks in the. I saw those adverts on Super Sports. The chicks are decent actually. And that's one you're watching it. I saw that in the advertisements of it. Now, fair enough, man. But I can't. You just don't say that on a live show, man. I mean, there's about 20, 30 people on the live stream, and you're saying that publicly, dude. Do you know what I mean? That's what the private chat's for. That's what the private chat's for, mate. Do you know what I mean? To say that there. Do you know what I mean?
Shai, take it away, brother.
God. Well, speaking of sexy, that's actually a good segue into what I was going to talk about, because I have to say, cricket, listen, I mean, I've obviously expressed my bit of concern about Test cricket, but what I will say is that cricket as a global sport is definitely in a healthy state. I mean, we're seeing now, business and cricket being much more inextricably linked. I mean, obviously some investments in the USA as well. We're seeing franchise leagues popping up all over around the world. Obviously the growth of the T10 league as well. White ball cricket is in a very good place. I think it was really good for the game that England won. I mean, obviously not personally speaking, but England won the World Cup 2 years ago as well. So yeah, I obviously get the monkey off its back, but I think the white ball game is in a very healthy state. I think it's going to continue to grow the game globally, because that's a good way in. You just need to make sure when it comes to test level, because for me, obviously, this guy in my 30s, I still view test cricket as the pinnacle. So it's great having white ball cricket as being such a popular sport now, T20s and 50 over. But when it translates over to the test arena, the players must be in a position still to be able to play the game in its correct and right manner to play 5 days, of good competitive cricket. I think also the advent of social media as well has helped cricket a lot. As I said before, I meant that anyway. There's definitely a sense of sexiness now with cricket. I think it's much more in the public domain. I mean, we're seeing, obviously, that movie came out, I think, in 2014, $1 Million Arm. I think it was a Disney flick with John Hamm from Mad Men. So cricket obviously is now a much more of a sort of global sport with things like that happening. So in mainstream media. So I think it's in a good place. I'm not saying the sanctity of test cricket, but it needs to be protected. And I think the only way to that is make sure that it remains competitive by and large. There's going to be whoopings, we know that, but I just don't want it becomes monotonous and predictable all the time. So that's why I was said before, when you see away teams come over and turn teams over, it shouldn't be such a shockingly moments really for us. Like West Indies winning Bangladesh, that should be happening more regularly, across the globe. But I think as a general cricket fan, I am happy how the sport is, the place that's currently in.
Hey, you forgot your main part.
Oh yeah, so okay. Right, so I don't know if you guys are interested in. Well, I'm sure you're interested in foreign film, but one of my favorite movies I watched the other day, actually, again, is something called I Saw the Devil, which is a Korean movie by Ji Won Kim, I think it is. A fantastic. It stars the protagonist from Old Boy, the 2003 version, not the horrendous Spike Lee version, the original version. Yeah,
a movie that you're disturbing.
Yeah, yeah, very disturbing. The Spike Lee version, forget that one, the original version, the 03 version. But I Saw the Devil, if you haven't seen it, Harley, I know you're a big movie fan as well. You should watch I Saw the Devil. Incredible film. Undoubtedly in my top 10. And I'm not sure if it's in Parasite. I'm sure, Harley, you've seen it. But again, it's another great Korean film as well. In terms of music, I'm a kind of a 90s hip hop head.
To all the ladies in the place with styling grace.
Yes, allow me to grace. Yeah. This is like a turn now, man. But I'd say probably Most Def, Black on Both Sides, and Most Def and Tell the Quality, Black Star. I saw them both live, I think at least twice. Black Star, Black Star. He did the one album in the late 90s. Incredible album. So that, Tribe Called Quest. That's just kind of my music, really. I did listen. I was watching Joshua the other day. Master Joshua, a boxer, if you guys know, when he got knocked out, and the opening song to his ring walk was "Burna Boy." Yay! I don't know if you've heard that. That is also a brilliant modern song, that as well. So that's my music take. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. So, from my perspective, I just think that all teams should travel. Yeah, like Mpo said, like all of you guys said, let's travel more. I would like to obviously see the big guys take on the little teams a lot better, a lot more. I think also it's more SAA tours. I think that's going to really change the game for everybody. More SAA tours in top quality countries. SAA sides versus SAA sides. If they make it, I think there's an opportunity or possibility of a year open for people to maybe have an SAA tour to have a SAA tour, even while there are other things happening. Maybe before it was a curtain raiser, where all teams get to play in a SAA tour league. Maybe I think maybe make it another test league for SAA teams or emerging teams. Even if it's not a SAA team, maybe make it for emerging players. Maybe make it for under 19s emerging. That group of guys that can tour the world and play each other emerging teams around the world. That will really increase experience with regards to youngsters in the country, getting used to different conditions, Indian conditions, Australian conditions, all those different types of conditions, and teach them from a young age to increase the level of cricketers around the country and around the world. That will increase the level of cricket, I think, personally. And that's what I want to see being implemented. When it comes to series, I'm going to give you two. So there's one if you're a sports fanatic and you're really fun, but the sport is not so centralized in the show. It's more the comedy, and you guys will probably know it as well. It's called Ted Lasso. It's an interesting show. I think it's more lighthearted. I think there's a little bit of comedy, a little bit of romance, and a little bit of sport in it for you. So I think it's a nice in the middle type of series just to get you through your day if you're feeling a little bit sad and lonely. For the more R-rated guys that are a little bit more into the violence and the hectic storylines, etc., there's a show called Warrior that I really think you guys should watch. It's based on the writings and teachings of Bruce Lee. So it's one of his scriptures that he's created. He's written back before he passed away, and they've taken that storyline and turned it into a series, basically. So you'll see a lot of the fighting moves, even from the lead. It's very similar to the way Bruce Lee fought in his style. So excellent show. There's 2 seasons out right now. Go and watch that show. Got some music. I can't not say an MGK song, so I'm going to say Forget Me Too. You have to go listen to that. And I'm going to give it for the Korean fans. And I don't know how many people are in Korea pop it, but there's a particular song you must go listen to. It's called Life Goes On by BTS. Go ahead and listen to that song. Look at the subtitles to get the meaning of the song, but it really gets you in your feels, even though it is a Korean song. So that's my 2 things or a piece of wisdom for you guys. Everybody out there, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for the super chats. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell for all future videos. Of course, thanks a lot to everybody on the show. Shay, thank you for coming on the show, even though you had another one planned. Thank you for doing that for me for this particular show. I really needed you on it.
No worries, mate.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, so I owe you one. Paul, thank you a lot for coming on. Aditya, as per usual, late in India, still doing your things. Thanks a lot for that. And Cricket Connoisseur, Aaron, love you, man. Thanks a lot for all you guys for coming on the show. Don't forget to go and subscribe to the magazine. We're working on a new issue. It's a very different issue, but so please support it because it's all about youth cricket. It's not going to be your headlining covers when you see one of the stars on the front cover. So it's going to be a very, I think, more of an emotional journey from a South African perspective, giving you an insight into what can happen to improve cricket in South Africa. So please go ahead and support that. Please support everybody that is doing it because the cover is going to be, the image on the cover is being given to us by someone that has started a good initiative in South African cricket. She started teaching street cricket. So I want you guys to go ahead and go in to look at that. And I want you to look in the magazine to see who I'm talking about. I don't want to say it on the stream. So go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your updates as per usual. Guys, we have an opportunity for all small businesses and for medium businesses to promote your business with Cricket Fanatics Magazine, through Cricket Fanatics Magazine, through our content that we provide. We even can create new content for you. We can create sales pages for you. It's all about you guys building your business, growing your business, getting more sales online, getting more customers online. Please go ahead to cricketfanaticsmag@gmail.com. Contact us. You can ask me, DM me on social media platforms. I'll give you the link straight through where you can book a call with us and we can have a conversation with you guys to see what the choice is for you. We will tailor make it for your business. So don't think about, what's the prices of all of those type of things. Don't worry about that. We will find a way to do what we can do to help you wherever you are at whatever stage on your business. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Thanks again for all the panelists, and take care and have a great evening. See you guys.